Okay, hi guys, this is talking, ooh, horrible focus. Let's refocus this. Much better. Okay, sorry, when you've been here a while tonight, guys, you get a little tired, you get a little loopy when you start doing these things, but it's a lot of fun. All right, quick review, a couple things. What's the definition of a circle? All right, the definition of a circle is what? The set of all points in a plane the same distance away from a given point. Okay? Now that given point we called the center. Alright? And that point, no big deal, we've talked about it a lot. Now we're going to actually derive that using the formula for an equation of a circle using the distance formula. So we have to remember what distance is. And remember, it's the same distance from a given point. So distance is the key thing and the given point's the key thing. Is using, remember, x2 minus x1 squared plus the quantity y2 minus y1 squared. Now, when we have a circle, we have a couple different labels, okay? X and y are any point that's on the circle. H and K are given as the x and y coordinates for the center of a circle. Now, if you ask me why, I have no clue. Okay, someone picked H and K, and you'll use those throughout with conic sections and algebra 2 and things. So we just go with it after a while. But I'm going to find the distance, the length of this radius. And to do that, I'm going to use the distance formula. I'm going to rewrite it here. Okay, I'm going to have my x2 minus my x1 squared plus the quantity y2 minus my y1 squared. And my distance is, I'm physically going to find the length of the radius, so I'm going to call that r. I'm going to let this be my x2, y2. I'm going to let this be my x1, y1s when I work with it. So I get x2, which is x, minus x1, which is h, that quantity squared, plus the quantity I get y, is my y2, minus my k, which is my x1 squared. Now, the thing is, I don't always like radicals like this, and that's not the standard form of working with these. So the standard form is by squaring it. So what you have to do now is you square both sides to get rid of the square root symbol. So what I get is I get r squared is equal to the quantity x minus h squared plus the quantity y minus k squared. And it's all found by using the distance formula. Well, the only difference between this and a formula of the area of a circle is normally we put r squared on the right hand side. So we get x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals my radius squared. That is the equation of any circle. That's the standard equation for a circle. So here's where we're going to write it down, but that's how it's derived. So if you forget, just use the distance formula. The equation of a circle with the center, h, k, and the radius r is the following. The quantity x minus h squared plus the quantity y minus k squared equals the radius squared. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. Here's an example. Here we have the quantity x minus 3 squared plus the quantity y minus 4 squared equals 9. Now, looking at this, I should be able to figure out what is h and k. Looking here, I have minus 3. Well, I have a minus h here. So in order to keep that negative sign, 3 had to be positive. So my center is actually 3, 4. Does everyone see where I got the 3 and the 4 from? Right here. My radius is actually the square root of 9 because the radius squared is 9. So my radius is square root of 9, which is 3. So my radius is 3 and my center is 3, 4. A thing that you want to remember is your center point values, see a V there, are opposite in the equation. And what do I mean by this? Because I'm subtracting a positive, it saves the subtraction problem, so I know as minus 3 here, it becomes a positive 3 in here. Let me give you another example of this. Okay, a second example we're going to use is going to be the following. I'm going to go x plus 5 squared plus the quantity y minus 1 squared equals, let's just say 12. Okay, now looking at this one, this is the standard form. I'm supposed to be able to pick out h and k. Well, in this case, my center is going to be a negative 5, positive 1. Why? Because remember, originally I have x minus h. Well, how did that turn into positive? Well, that meant 5 had to be negative, because over here, you know, you got x minus, minus a negative 5. That makes that, what? Positive 5. So, you know, subtracting a value makes it its opposite. So just ignore that for now, because that'll probably confuse you more than anything. And then you take the square root of 12, and you get 2 root 3 to be the radius. Now, don't let these confuse you. Just use what you know to figure out the center and the radius. Now, right here, I don't know an h and a k. They just have an x squared and y squared. Well, what if I rewrote it like this? If I do that, what are my two values for the center? That's right, 0, 0. So if you do not have a value with it, like an h or k value, that means it's understood to be 0. Kind of makes sense, because x minus 0 is x squared. So, x minus 0, that quantity squared is x squared. My radius is the square root of 100. It's going to equal 10. This is so much easier. We have one form of equation of a circle that we're going to pick out. So then we have our other one here. What is the equation of the circle here? Well, remember, that's x minus h squared plus the quantity y minus k squared equals the radius squared. So these come out the opposites. So my center is going to be 2, 4, and my radius is the square root of 81, which is 9. Notice your radius is not going to be a negative value, so it's going to be positive. How about this next one? Look here at the two values. X minus h, well, that's the minus sign yet, so that meant that value had to be positive. Oh wait, but we have y plus 1. Well, that meant k was actually a negative value, so it's a negative 1. Your radius is going to be the square root of 16, which is 4. Are you guys starting to see the patterns that we're getting from here so far? How about this next one? What's going to be your center here? I hope you realize if that's not a subtraction symbol, that means that's going to be a negative 3, because remember, they come out the opposites of what we have. It's kind of like what we did with point slope form of an equation of a line. And then we have nothing with the y, so that meant it had to be a 0. My radius is the square root of 72. Well, that's the same thing as square root of 36 times the square root of 2. Oh, so that's 6 root 2. So that's my radius. So far, the radii is pretty easy to pick out. You just take the square root of what it's equal. My center for the next one, I have nothing with the x, which is x squared, so that's understood to have a 0. And if this is positive, my value I pull out is what? Negative. And my radius is the square root of 18, which is going to be 3 root 2. Okay, now let's look at this next one here. I got the quantity x plus 6 squared plus the quantity y minus the negative 4 squared equals 40. Well, if I'm pulling out the center, I have the fact here, I have a negative 6. If I'm subtracting a negative, it's going to make it positive, but I don't need to worry about that because I'm looking, remember, I'm looking for y minus k. Well, what's k going to be in this case? Yeah, a negative 4. My radius is the square root of 40, so it's going to be 2 root 10. So there's your radius, there's your center. Hopefully, that helps you just a little bit with it.